it is. Kathy Engelbert clearly cannot handle the job. And I believe that this is the time Adam Silver is about to step in. The signs have been pointing that way. He clearly inserted himself on the Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas thing, which tells you the commissioner doesn't have a real pulse on it.
That is the accusation hanging over the WNBA right now. The league's biggest moment has arrived, but its leadership may not be ready to control what comes with it. And one question is becoming impossible to ignore. Why does Adam Silver suddenly appear closer to the action?
It needs to actually perform like a professional business, which is why Adam Silver has already inserted himself. He's already stepped in on the Kathy Engelbert, Caitlin Clark situation, and that was just the beginning. He's gonna be full-fledged monitoring things. You see, they have the NBA Replay Center coming now.
The NBA Replay Center might sound like a technical adjustment, but the timing makes it much more significant. The WNBA has spent months dealing with arguments over officiating, discipline, player safety, and inconsistent explanations, especially whenever Caitlin Clark is involved. Every controversial play now becomes a national debate. Every decision is slowed down, replayed from multiple angles, and judged by an audience far larger than the league was accustomed to managing. That creates pressure not only on referees, but also on the commissioner responsible for explaining why the league responded one way in one situation and differently in another. And later, we are going to examine the detail that matters most: whether Silver's involvement represents normal cooperation between the NBA and WNBA, or evidence that confidence in Kathy Engelbert's leadership has started to weaken behind the scenes.
And courtesy of the New York Times. Here it says the WNBA's business is thriving, so why can't Kathy Engelbert escape criticism? Here it says Kathy was at the center court inside Barclays Center when the Liberty beat the Aces in a mid-season tournament. After her job title, she took the mic to congratulate the team and was drowned out almost entirely. Okay, she was getting the hell booed out of her.
That headline captures the contradiction perfectly. The WNBA's business profile is rising, yet Engelbert is facing more visible criticism than at any other point in her tenure. Those two realities can exist at the same time. A league can sell more tickets, attract stronger television audiences, and secure bigger commercial opportunities, while still suffering from leadership problems. Growth does not automatically prove that every executive decision is working. Sometimes rapid growth exposes weaknesses that were easier to hide when fewer people were watching. Engelbert being booed during a public presentation does not, by itself, determine whether she should remain commissioner. Sports commissioners are frequently booed. Fans boo Roger Goodell at the NFL draft, and NBA crowds have directed the same treatment toward league officials. But the WNBA situation feels different because the criticism is not coming from only one group. Fans have questioned officiating and player protection. Players have criticized communication and league priorities. Union leaders have challenged the commissioner publicly. Team officials have reportedly raised concerns anonymously. When complaints begin arriving from several directions at once, booing stops being just part of the show. It becomes a symbol of a broader credibility problem.
While there's seemingly no shortage of players other than team employees willing to complain publicly about day-to-day decision-making within the league, Engelbert's overall job security remains too hot for most to handle. While The Athletic spoke to a dozen sources around the league for this story, all almost refused to comment for publication, even anonymously. What they did do is provide a holistic view of the situation that Engelbert and the WNBA now find.
This is where the story becomes more complicated. According to the report being discussed, people around the league were willing to describe their concerns privately, but most did not want those concerns attached to their names. Anonymous criticism must always be treated carefully. It can reveal genuine fear inside an organization, but it can also allow people to attack a leader without accepting responsibility for their own decisions. We do not know the motives of every unnamed source, and we should not pretend that private frustration automatically proves misconduct or incompetence. Still, reluctance to speak publicly can tell us something about the atmosphere. If executives believe the commissioner is doing an excellent job, there should be influential people prepared to defend her clearly. If they believe changes are needed, there should be a formal process for raising those concerns. Instead, the picture presented here is one of uncertainty. people complaining privately while apparently remaining unsure who has the authority to resolve the problem. That uncertainty matters because the WNBA is no longer operating in a low-pressure environment. The league is entering a period in which every major decision affects television partners, sponsors, franchise valuations, labor negotiations, and the treatment of the stars driving attention. Leadership cannot be vague when the financial stakes are becoming this serious.
Here's a quote: "If we're going to make a move, we should make a move," said one high-ranking team official, speaking anonymously to protect existing relationships. If not, we need some leadership. And the leadership is the real problem, guys. That's the real problem. This league has a lack of leadership.
If we're going to make a move, we should make a move. If not, we need some leadership. That anonymous quote is arguably more damaging than the booing because it describes an organization that may be trapped between two choices. Either Engelbert has the confidence of the people governing the league, or she does not. If she has that support, the Board of Governors should allow her to lead decisively and defend the direction publicly. If she no longer has that support, delaying a decision would only extend the instability. What cannot continue is a situation where every controversy produces speculation that Adam Silver will step in and fix it. That creates two commissioners in the public imagination, Engelbert as the official leader and Silver as the person expected to intervene when the pressure becomes too intense. That perception is dangerous, even when it is exaggerated. Players may begin taking their biggest complaints above Engelbert. Team officials may assume difficult issues will eventually be handled by the NBA. Fans may conclude that WNBA decisions are not final until Silver becomes involved. Once that happens, the commissioner's authority starts eroding, whether she technically retains the title or not.
So, the leadership is the problem. Here it says NBA Commissioner Adam Silver appointed Engelbert in 2019, giving her commissioner title no previous WNBA permanent leader had possessed. It was a testament to her CV, highlighted by a stint as the CEO of Deloitte, a multinational business consulting firm. Okay. It says, but the WNBA's Board of Governors lack involvement regarding Engelbert's hiring has led to question who exactly she reports to. Throughout her tenure, there have been moments that point to Silver's explicit involvement.
Engelbert was appointed in 2019 after serving as chief executive of Deloitte. That background was a major reason she appeared qualified for the role. She understood large organizations, corporate partnerships, and complicated business structures at a time when the WNBA needed to expand its commercial reach. Her tenure has included meaningful business progress, and fairness requires acknowledging that. The league has attracted new investment, expanded its visibility, and positioned itself for a larger media future. It would be misleading to act as though every positive development occurred despite the commissioner. But the structure described in this report raises a legitimate governance question. Who ultimately evaluates Engelbert, and who can overrule her? The NBA owns a significant stake in the WNBA. Individual NBA owners control additional franchises, and the WNBA has its own Board of Governors. Silver appointed Engelbert, yet she holds the title of commissioner rather than president. That creates an unusual arrangement in which she appears independent publicly while remaining connected to a larger basketball system controlled by the NBA. That structure may function smoothly when business is calm. Under pressure, however, unclear authority can become a serious weakness. When a disciplinary decision becomes nationally controversial, does Engelbert have the final word? When labor negotiations stall, who is responsible for resolving them? When owners disagree with league strategy, are they speaking to her, the board, or Silver? The public may never receive complete answers, but the frequency of Silver's name appearing in WNBA controversies suggests that those boundaries are becoming increasingly important.
Here says Silver acknowledged that while he hadn't been at the bargaining table of the contentious WNBA CBA negotiations, he was playing a role behind the scenes. More recently, he reportedly involved the disciplinary process. He was involved in the disciplinary process of Phoenix Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas, now infamously the play involving her Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark.
Now we reach the strongest evidence that this is bigger than ordinary speculation. Silver acknowledged playing a role behind the scenes in collective bargaining matters, and reports connected him to the disciplinary discussion surrounding Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark. the precise level of his involvement has not been publicly established. It would be irresponsible to claim that Silver personally ordered a specific punishment without verified evidence. What can be said is that his participation became a subject serious enough for reporters to question him directly. That alone changes the conversation. The commissioner of the NBA does not have unlimited time to personally review every WNBA argument. If he becomes involved in a disciplinary issue, the logical inference is that the matter carries consequences beyond a normal in-game dispute. Caitlin Clark is not simply another player from a business perspective. Her arrival brought an extraordinary surge of attention to women's basketball. Games involving her have repeatedly attracted larger audiences, moved into bigger arenas, and generated national media coverage that extends beyond traditional WNBA fans. That does not mean she should receive different basketball rules. It means the league must enforce the same rules with greater clarity, because millions of new viewers are testing the product for the first time. They are watching how officials respond to physical contact, whether punishments are consistent, and whether the league appears capable of protecting competition without appearing to protect a particular player. If the process looks confused, the damage is not limited to one game. It affects the trust of an audience the WNBA has spent decades trying to build.
Here's a quote. It says CNBC's Game Plan Summit. On if they asked Adam Silver about it, he said, "I'm not going to comment on that because I don't think it's fair to Caitlin and to Kathy either. That's the real issue here." So he indirectly told you, yes, he had to step in.
Silver's answer was carefully constructed. He refused to discuss the matter because, in his words, he did not believe doing so would be fair to Caitlin or Kathy. Notice what that response does not do. It does not clearly deny involvement. It also does not confirm that he overruled Engelbert or dictated the league's decision. It leaves the door open while protecting both sides from a public confrontation. That may be standard executive caution, but it also reveals the sensitivity of the relationship. Silver understood that a direct answer could weaken Engelbert. Confirming intervention would raise questions about her authority. Denying involvement too aggressively could create complications if internal discussions later became public. So he chose the safest route: no details, no accusation, and no public separation from the WNBA commissioner. This is the payoff the earlier signs were pointing toward. Silver does not necessarily need to remove Engelbert to change how the league is run. He can increase NBA oversight quietly. He can become more involved in discipline, officiating systems, labor strategy, and major business decisions. He can pressure the WNBA to adopt NBA infrastructure without announcing that he has taken control. That would explain why the replay center matters. It would explain why his name is emerging around disciplinary questions. And it would explain why people around the league appear uncertain about who holds the final authority. The most realistic possibility may not be a dramatic firing tomorrow. It may be a gradual transfer of practical power.
Kathy Engelbert, she just can't lead, and they need somebody in there that's gonna like put the business first. Like this whole dating, like this Nalissa Smith, DJ Carrington thing is a bad look. It's bad for business. A lot of this stuff is bad for business, man. And until they got to get somebody in there that can get a grip on this thing, and like it actually needs to be run.
The original commentary connects the leadership crisis to personal relationships between players, but that argument needs to be separated from the stronger business case. Professional sports leagues cannot and should not attempt to control every consensual relationship involving adults. WNBA players may date other players, just as people throughout the sports industry form personal relationships. A blanket attempt to ban that would create legal, ethical, and practical problems. The legitimate concern is conflict of interest. If two people are on opposing teams, share confidential competitive information, or create workplace issues that affect teammates, the league and individual franchises need policies for handling those circumstances. Those policies should be professional, consistent, and focused on conduct rather than private identity. Public disputes involving former partners can create embarrassing headlines, but Silver cannot simply intervene in every breakup or social media accusation. The league's responsibility begins when personal conflict affects team operations, player safety, harassment policies, competitive integrity, or contractual obligations. This distinction is important because sensational personal drama can distract from the actual leadership failures. Engelbert should not be judged because players have complicated private lives. She should be judged on whether the WNBA has clear standards, credible enforcement, and a reliable process when private conflict enters the workplace. The same principle applies to every commissioner. Strong leadership is not about controlling emotions. It is about building systems that function even when emotions become intense.
Professionally now, you have a worldwide international superstar in Caitlin Clark. This is the opportunity for you to legitimize as a league. What was pulled at All-Star Weekend, that trash game the last 2 years, somebody's got to step in and get this.
The league's opportunity is enormous because Caitlin Clark has accelerated a transformation that was already developing through stars such as Asha Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Angel Reese. The WNBA now has more personalities capable of generating sustained attention across different markets. But attention is not guaranteed to become loyalty. New viewers will not remain simply because one player is famous. They stay when the games feel important, the broadcasts are accessible, the officiating is understandable, and the league presents its best athletes as central figures rather than treating every moment of popularity as a cultural problem. All-star events should demonstrate that professionalism. They are not ordinary games, and the level of competition will naturally differ from the playoffs. Still, the event is a showcase for sponsors, casual viewers, and potential ticket buyers. If the product appears disorganized or low energy, fans will judge it against other entertainment options competing for their time. This is where Engelbert's corporate experience should be most valuable. The commissioner must align players, owners, broadcasters, and sponsors around the same objective: convert the current surge into a durable business. That requires more than press releases celebrating attendance records. It requires scheduling that maximizes star matchups, officiating accountability that viewers can understand, transparent injury information where teams are permitted to provide it, and disciplinary standards that do not change according to the intensity of online outrage. The league does not need to eliminate controversy. Controversy can be commercially valuable. Rivalries create interest. Strong opinions generate conversation. The danger comes when audiences cannot distinguish an exciting rivalry from institutional disorder.
In recent years, Engelbert's communication style has been criticized and magnified by the players who aren't afraid to air their grievances. Okay, while many players say they never had a relationship with Engelbert, the level of strain went mainstream when Nafisa Collier called out Engelbert during her exit interview. And we're all well aware of how she blasted her with that and brought up Caitlin Clark and all of this stuff.
Communication has become Engelbert's greatest vulnerability. Players have repeatedly suggested that they lack a meaningful relationship with her, and Nafisa Collier's public criticism during her exit interview turned those complaints into a national story. Collier did not merely disagree with one decision. She presented an argument that the league's leadership had failed to listen to players, failed to address officiating concerns, and failed to communicate effectively during an important period of labor tension. Engelbert disputed parts of that account, which demonstrates why direct communication matters. When commissioner-player relationships are weak, every disagreement becomes a public contest over whose version of events is accurate. A commissioner does not have to be personally close with every athlete. That would be impossible. But star players, union leaders, and team representatives must believe there is a dependable channel through which concerns can be raised before frustration explodes publicly. The WNBA is especially vulnerable because its players have large individual platforms and have historically been willing to challenge institutions openly. That independence is part of the league's identity. Engelbert cannot manage it by expecting silence, and she cannot answer every criticism defensively. She needs a structure that turns conflict into negotiation before it becomes a headline. Silver has experience managing similar tensions. The NBA has dealt with player activism, owner scandals, officiating controversies, labor disputes, and dramatic changes in media consumption. His involvement could provide stability, but it also carries a risk. If the NBA becomes too dominant, WNBA players may feel that their league is losing independence just as its commercial value is increasing. They may ask why major decisions are being controlled by NBA leadership when WNBA players are the ones producing the growth. That could make collective bargaining even more contentious. So Silver cannot simply arrive as a rescuer. Any expanded role would have to respect the WNBA's identity while correcting the governance problems that have become visible.
Itself in, and these are some of the reasons that Adam Silver has had to insert himself, and he's gonna see to get an end to all of this nastiness that's going on.
Bad for business is the phrase that connects every part of this controversy, but it should not be used as an excuse to silence criticism. Players speaking honestly is not automatically bad for business. Fans questioning leadership is not bad for business. Media outlets investigating how the league operates are not bad for business. The real threat is allowing legitimate complaints to remain unresolved until they damage trust. For owners, the issue is financial. Franchise values and future expansion fees depend on confidence that the WNBA's growth can continue beyond one season or one superstar. Investors want predictable leadership, stable labor relations, and a product that sponsors can support without being surprised by constant institutional disputes. For players, the issue is compensation and working conditions. They see rising interest and believe their share of the league's economic value should increase. They also want better facilities, travel, officiating, and long-term career support. For fans, the issue is credibility. They do not expect perfection, but they do expect explanations that make sense. When similar incidents receive different treatment, or when official statements seem disconnected from what viewers saw, suspicion grows quickly. And for Clark, the issue is sustainability. No athlete should be required to carry an entire league's public image. She should be allowed to play basketball, develop through injuries and mistakes, and compete against opponents who are also free to challenge her physically within the rules. Building the WNBA entirely around conflict involving Clark might create temporary clicks, but it would weaken the league over time. The smarter strategy is to use the audience she attracted to introduce viewers to the depth of talent across every roster. That is the leadership test Engelbert is facing. Can she convert attention attached to one player into respect for the entire league?
The point being, man, Adam Silver is being forced to step in. He's got to put an end to all of this circus stuff. He has to. What says you? Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
Adam Silver may already be stepping closer, but there are three very different ways this could end. The first is that Engelbert remains fully in charge and the league treats recent criticism as temporary turbulence. Under that scenario, she would need to improve communication, guide the league through collective bargaining, and demonstrate that the WNBA can handle discipline and officiating without constant questions about NBA intervention. The second is that Engelbert keeps the title, while Silver and the NBA take a larger operational role. Replay review, business strategy, and disciplinary procedures could increasingly rely on NBA systems. This may be the least disruptive outcome, but it risks making the commissioner appear ceremonial if the public believes Silver makes the difficult decisions. The third is a leadership change. The anonymous quote about making a move suggests that possibility has at least been discussed by people around the league, although no official decision has been announced in the material presented here. Replacing a commissioner during rapid growth would be a major gamble. The next leader would inherit labor negotiations, expansion pressure, player distrust, and enormous expectations created by the Clark era. And no, the solution is not automatically hiring a man. Leadership ability is not determined by gender. The WNBA needs someone capable of making firm decisions, communicating clearly, respecting players, and understanding how to transform cultural attention into a stable sports business. That person could be male or female. What matters is whether the leader has genuine authority and the confidence of the board, owners, and players. The central issue is no longer whether the WNBA is growing. It clearly has momentum. The issue is whether the institution can mature as quickly as the audience around it. The first half of the season exposed every weakness at once: inconsistent communication, intense officiating debates, confusion over discipline, tension between players and executives, and uncertainty about Silver's role. The second half will reveal whether those problems were growing pains or signs of a deeper leadership breakdown. So now the choice belongs to you. Should Kathy Engelbert remain commissioner and receive the authority to fix the league? Should Adam Silver take direct control of the biggest decisions? Or has the WNBA reached the point where completely new leadership is necessary? Put your answer in the comments. explain why, and subscribe if you want the next development broken down without the corporate spin.